Hello everyone, once again. Back on the good old Scrubwood Studios review table, unboxing another figure from this box. I mean, the clue's kind of in the word unboxing. There'd be a box involved. Anyway, now I think I've decided which one I'm going to get out because I can already see it from the top. So I figured I'm not going to reserve this one anymore. I'm just going to grab this one out rather than picking randomly. It's also quite big and obvious, but it's quite, yeah, it's definitely quite big, but see if I can get it out. I haven't had one from this brand in a while. We have the PNSO Saurophaganax, which might be the same thing as Epantarius, which might be the same thing as Allosaurus. Let's get into it. Alright, let's start by taking this horrible plastic film off the box. Just cut that, always cut away from yourself, because duh. And then, well, let's take a look at the box first. So it's number 75. I seem to end up, I'm pretty sure my first one was the Allosaurus, which was like, I think 45. And then the Carcharodontosaurus was, I think, 50. So I seem to keep getting multiples of 5. The only one I don't have, I think, that wasn't a multiple of 5 was the Mapusaurus. And also, all of my PNSO models so far have been Allosauroids of some sort. That wasn't intentional, that's just kind of how it's happened. Picture with the mouth open on the top. Same picture on the back. Nice one with the mouth closed, showing that this model features lips, which is a nice little detail based on some... I think it was evidence, I think it was like a T-Rex tooth or something that they analysed, like the amount of wear it had in life, to try and determine whether it was exposed to the elements or not. And the findings they got, I seem to remember, did suggest that actually the teeth probably would have had some sort of covering. Anyway, time to open this up. Let's see, which side should I open this from? Maybe I'll open it from this side. Oh. It's been a while since I've had a PNSO model. Been getting cheaper stuff recently. Okay, that side's not opening. What about this one? Ah, yeah, that one opens really easily. All right. So I think it's this way up. So let's see. Oh, I can see the tail. And there, lying, is that upside down or not? I don't know. It's a bit smaller than I expected. I was kind of expecting our Saurophaganax to be bigger, I guess because it's quite a slender animal. First of all, we've got our poster and our booklet. Let's have a look at the poster real quick. I already know what it looks like because I've seen it in reviews, but there you go. Nice, big image of our Saurophaganax, or possibly Epantarius, possibly Allosaurus Maximus, just strolling through a sort of pine foresty area, at least conifer area. Very nice. And then we have our little booklet with like some cool stuff in it, some nice artwork, pictures, how to draw it, maybe the odd fact or two, the little story, all cool stuff. I actually like these booklets. Some people think they're just a waste of paper and time. I quite like them. I do agree, though, that the PNSO museum line stuff is a bit overkill with 18 billion posters, when what you really want to get to, as cool as those other things are, is this, your dinosaur. So There he is in the packet. Which way should I take this off? I think this way up. Actually, but there we go. We've got this top one off. You can see it's interesting. It's got kind of the shape of the dinosaur molded into it. And then I should be able to lift out our Saurophaganax, which might be the same thing as Epanteris, which might be the same thing as Allosaurus. And let's see, does he stand up on his own or has he warped? I think his foot might have warped in transport. Oh no. He can stand up, but barely. I don't think those feet are supposed to be so close together. I think that might have warped a bit. Yeah, I get the distinct impression that's warped slightly. But he does stand up and... wow. Look at how fine the detail is. The ears, the eye. Let me zoom in on those eyes. Wow. I'm always impressed by these PNSO models. They are just lovely. Let's start out here at the head. So the head is just absolutely beautiful. It's got the classic PNSO look with the larger sort of pressure sensitive scales at the front. Nostrils sculpted in. I do kind of wish PNSO would define maybe their nostrils a bit more with like a bit of black or something inside of them, but that doesn't bother me too much. Nice ridges at the top leading up to those lacrimal crests. Eye has been beautifully painted. Barely any defects there at all. We've got the ear hole back here. You can see underneath, you can see some more nice scale detail and skin folds under the underside, the jaw and the neck. And speaking of the jaw, let's see how it opens. Little stiff. Ooh. Yeah, the Carcharodontosaurus I remember was pretty stiff when I first opened it up. Come on. I will say, I've noticed the jaw is that ever so slightly wonky? Maybe a tiny bit. Maybe if you look at it face on. Yeah, the jaw is ever so slightly wonky. That's a bit of a shame. Maybe the postage people weren't too gentle with this guy in transit, but... oh, come on, open up. Very stiff. Don't want to damage anything here, but there we go. I've got the jaw at least partially open. Oh, is that as far as it goes? I think that might be as far as it goes. Okay, so not the widest opening jaw, which is a bit odd, because Allosaurus, I believe there was a study suggesting it could open its jaws very wide for a theropod. So interestingly, this model of Saurophaganax doesn't replicate that. Gosh, this lighting is so bad. I hate the lighting on this table. I'm thinking of moving where I do the reviews, because you really can't appreciate this thing in all its glory. But if we look inside the mouth, you can see all the usual amazing PNSO detail. Got those air passageways, nice throat. It's all been done. There's a nice gloss coat. The teeth are beautifully detailed behind the lips. Yeah, they're absolutely lovely, the detail on those. And then when I close the mouth, it seals pretty nicely. Again, I think if it wasn't slightly wonky, it would seal even better, but overall, like that is just a lovely headshot. Moving down, neck's got lots of nice skin detail. Lovely little, beautiful, tiny scales. Then we get down to these nice muscular forelimbs. I don't know if we have I think we do have the forelimbs, or at least bits of them. Keep in mind, we don't have a lot of Saurophaganax. For all we know, this could be very wrong, this reconstruction. But based on the evidence we have and what we think it's related to, this is probably about as good of a reconstruction as Saurophaganax as you can get. But yeah, we've got nice powerful forelimbs, no little dainty T-Rex arms on this thing. These are proper forelimbs. Got some nice big claws, and are they sharp? They're quite sharp. Not as sharp as on some of their other theropods, though. Certainly not as sharp as on the Allosaurus. Nice sort of stomachy, chesty region there. Got all the PNSO and legal blah, 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 blah there. Moving down to the back legs, the dinosaur is in sort of a just taking a step, like it's been standing here and it's just about to take a step sort of pose. Again, more lovely skin detail. And then there's this nice powerful tail. And I do believe there was some evidence to suggest that Saurophaganax did have like a lot of muscles, like connecting, I think, from the legs to the tail. And I think that's what this line here is representing. It's that big muscle there. We also have our cloaca, very nicely sculpted, much more visible than on, for example, like the Mapusaurus I've got, which it was like a tiny little slit sculpted in. I didn't even notice it the first couple times I looked at it. And then we have this nice tail with a decent little curve, but it's still quite stiff. It's not super big. So overall, I am instantly super impressed by this thing, but then again, I shouldn't be. It's PNSO. They just do the nicest stuff ever, especially their theropods. So with that, let's move on to some outside photos and size comparisons. Before we do get into the size comparisons real quick, I would just like to say I completely forgot about this thing, the stand. Oh gosh, see, that's why I need it. Oh dear, have I scuffed this thing? It doesn't look like it. Yeah, that is why you want the stands, to stop stuff like that happening so easily. So yeah, it's just a nice, simple, clear stand. I like that it's clear, means that won't be too noticeable that it's propping up the model if it starts to warp. And let's see, where does this fit? Just under there by the looks of it. Yeah, yeah, I'm not a fan. I must admit, I'm not the biggest fan of this pose for stability reasons. Like, this seems like it could tip backwards or forwards very easily. The pose is cool, don't get me wrong, but I can't help but feel as though this is going to be a recipe for trouble standing up. But with that, we can move on to our size comparisons. I wonder, can I get this in a better position? Not really. So starting out, we'll bring in probably the closest thing to this model, which is the PNSO Allosaurus, which was also my first. See what I mean? Yeah, I'm going to take a couple points off, I think, for the pose, by the way, just because it's so susceptible to falling over. But here's the PNSO Allosaurus, and as you can see, PNSO have been careful to make sure that it is a good bit shorter than the Saurophaganax, or possibly Allosaurus maximus. This is meant to be, not a fragilis, think of the name. Allosaurus jamatsundai, I think is how it's pronounced. I can't remember. Which would obviously be smaller than a maximus, whether it is Allosaurus or whether it is its own genus, Saurophaganax. So yeah, there's a good, like, bit of difference in the size, which I appreciate. Bringing in Dang it, that's the third time. Yeah, I'm going to say it right now. I don't like this pose. That's the only thing I don't like about it so far. Bringing in another size comparison, one that surprisingly costs the same amount of money. This is the Mapusaurus from PNSO. Costs the same amount, and look how much bigger it is. And much less likely to fall over as well. Now, I love this Mapusaurus. This might be... I haven't made a video on it yet, but this is perhaps my favourite model in my collection. But yeah, given that these two cost the same, I have to say I would probably choose the Mapusaurus. As much as I love this Saurophaganax. Then we have an interesting one. This was, for a while, the only figure of Saurophaganax or a Maximus on the market. It's the collector one. This one's got an interesting story behind it. This was actually my first ever collector figure, as well as my introduction. This figure introduced me to both collector and everything dinosaur, where I got this guy. This was the first thing I ever ordered from ED. Bring in... by the way, it's obviously way smaller than the PNSO one. Bring in some potential contemporaries of Saurophaganax. We have the insanely long Eofauna Diplodocus, and this looks really good next to the Sauro, I think. Really, really good. You can just imagine it chasing down the Diplodocus, maybe open its mouth. Come on, it's very stiff. Wonder if having lips has anything to do with the stiffness, but there you go. Rah. So you can definitely do some cool stuff with that. I'll also bring in a bit of a staple of the sort of Morrison formation. I'll bring in Stegosaurus here, represented by the Paposteg. Yeah, these two look decent next to each other, but the PNSO one just has such nicer detail than well, almost anything on this board that isn't from PNSO, except for maybe this Eofauna Diplodocus. And just for one final size comparison, because I always use it, you know it's the Collector Deluxe Coolosuchus. Obviously, these definitely aren't in scale. Coolosuchus was about 3 meters as opposed to Saurophaganax being 10, 11, maybe even 13 meters for the biggest estimates. So with that, I'm thinking what I'm going to give this thing for my final rating. I think I was tempted to give this a perfect 5 out of 5 when I first saw it, because the detail is just, especially around the head with the lips and everything, is just amazing. This is probably as close, considering how fragmentary Saurophaganax or A. Maximus is, this is probably the closest we can get at the moment to a perfect model of it. But I'm going to knock it down to, I think, a 4.5 for 2 reasons. One, the pose, as I mentioned, is very susceptible to falling over. Like, even with the stand, it's not super stable. And the other reason, this guy here, the Mapusaurus, costs the same amount of money as the Saurophaganax, and you just get so much more quantity of figure. Like, it's just considerably bulkier and bigger, and it's just as detailed. The only area really where the Saurophaganax beats it is the detail of the lips. And I'm not, even though I slightly lean towards that side of the debate, there is still a debate. Lips aren't for certain, and I don't think including them on this model can justify it having the same price as this one. So while I absolutely love this Saurophaganax, I don't think it's going to take the place of my favourite model in my collection. But it's close, so I'm going to give it, I think, a 4.5 out of 5. Maybe a 4.6 or 7. So with that, Scrubwood Studios signing out.